Hi, this is Jay again. I didn't think I'd be having this conversation that quick, but after re-looking at my video, I wanted to delve deeper into some of the ideas of the DS relationships that I didn't get into in the first video. I found it incomplete because what it really didn't say is what a DS relationship is like. It gave the idea that the DS relationship was just a series of roles and rules. The reality is that a DS relationship is what I call a ground zero relationship. There is no set way it has to be. It can be any way you want or you need based on who you are and who your partner or partners are. So what I mean by that is if you're looking for a romantic relationship, you can have one in a DS relationship. It's something that people find very hard to believe. Well, if I'm being spanked, how can it be romantic? There are lots of ways things can be romantic. Candles, for example, around a bed is very romantic for some people. Just how you relate one another can be romantic. Just because someone may be a dominant or because they're a submissive doesn't mean that affects how they act to the other person in regards to those little romantic gestures and gifts and everything else. An example of that is, for example, with my beloved. My beloved is everything to me. The DS side of our relationship is important to us, but is by far not the most important aspect of it. Our most important aspect is how much we love each other and our marriage. So for us, DS can be very romantic. We go out, we cuddle, we have fun, we do everything that everyone else would normally do, and it's romantic, and we enjoy each other's company. I give her little gifts, and she gives me lots of gifts, and serves me quite well. It's a wonderful thing, and it's very romantic, it's very loving. Others people's relationship could be just about sex. That all it is a relationship that comes together at a party of some sort or within the confines of the bedroom. That's their relationship. That's how they want it to be, potentially anyway. That's what they're wishing for. Or it can have nothing to do with sex. It can have nothing to do with love whatsoever. There's the service model where people are owned. For example, a slave is owned by somebody, and the slave, all they do is serve. That service isn't necessarily, or isn't usually in this case, sexual. It can be whatever service that the dominant in that case wants. There's also no love in there necessarily. There's respect, there's loyalty. It's like the old manor house concept, whereupon the workers would have a respect for the lords of the household, but they wouldn't love them as we're traditionally using it. So a DS relationship can be anything. It is one there that is its strength and its weakness. The strength of it is it can be whatever you want it to be as long as you can communicate. Its weakness is that it's like every other relationship in that any sort of expectations or needs that are not discussed or not explained can wreck the relationship. In a DS relationship, it can wreck it even more than usual. These unfulfilled expectations are an important idea. I was just talking to a friend of mine about this over the past weekend, and he was saying how his slave had left him because she had some unfulfilled expectations. She was unhappy, and the reason why she was unhappy is she wasn't able to explain what her expectations really were to him, so he couldn't meet them. In a marriage, for example, there is an expectation, for example, of fidelity of your partner, that he or she is not going to go running around town. If that expectation is not met, that marriage can break apart. In a DS relationship, it has more dynamics than that. There's a lot of things, a lot of expectations that come to the table. In a marriage, you've got lots of expectations. In a friendship, you have expectations as well. But a lot of these are something that is less important than the idea itself. In a DS relationship, since it's all about needs, those unfulfilled expectations are a deal breaker. They can break everything apart that you've built up to. So you have to be very open and communicating with one another at all times. So for the submissive, you've got to be able to look into yourself and understand what is it that you really expect, what you really need out of a partner. You've got to know that because you also have to know what sort of partner you're looking for. If you're looking for a partner to give you love, then you're looking for a certain type of person. Not everybody in the BDSM lifestyle is going to give you love. Almost everyone will give you sex, but very few people are going to give you love. You got to be very careful about what you really need, what you really feel. You may for a dominant side, you have to take a look at what the submissive is really going to need and want and what you can provide. So, for example, if you're going to be a heavy sadist, you probably don't want somebody who isn't a masochist. If they can't stand being whipped and you need to whip, that's not a good selection. This all leads into the next thing, which I'm not going to spend a great deal of time of it, is the idea of the submissiveness and the dominance and what am I. I'm not going to get into it because of many reasons. There's other videos and other resources on to help you discover yourself if you haven't. But the real thing that I want to get across is that it's a lot more complicated than a lot of people will want to say it is. It isn't, okay, we've got dominance over here, and we got submission on here, and there's somewhere this line in here, so there might be switches in here someplace. It isn't just that. There's lots more to it. In fact, that dynamic of the relationship might be the least important. That's the roles you play. What's important is the different needs that you're bringing in. For example, there's the needs of what sort of needs you have on the giver-taker scale. How much you need your partner to give to you, how much you want to take from the relationship, how much you do it yourself. How much of you are a sadist, how much of you is a masochist, and realize you can be both at the same time. That matters into these dynamics. There is the service. How much do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve? If you want to serve because you feel good about service, that's great. If you want to serve because you want to get something out of it, that's great too, but it's a different sort of piece. And let me explain on that piece quickly. If you serve and get the feeling of your need being fulfilled from that service, then you're a more service model submissive. A lot of people use them in the terms of kind of like a slave. For you, the service is it. That's your need being fulfilled. You don't need the sexual side of things, you just need the service. However, if you are a different sort of submissive, you may serve, but not because you get a kick out of the service, but because you need to do it to get what you truly want out of the relationship. The best example I could use of this, if you're a heavy masochist, you may serve to get that punishment that you want. And if you didn't do that, if you weren't submissive to this dominant, you wouldn't be able to get it. So there's lots of dynamics here, and you've got to talk. That's the biggest thing. All communication, all relationships, communication is very, very important. But in a DS relationship, it's absolutely crucial because faster than anything else, unfulfilled expectations are going to break the relationship up. Done right, a DS relationship could be anything, and it can be wonderful because there's established roles that you establish based on your needs. So you're very balanced and you know what's going to happen, what your partner's going to do. There's open communication if done right, so that you feel free to discuss what your needs, what your wants, what your desires are, where you want to go in the future. There's so much here. But if you can't open up, if you can't know yourself, if you can't study yourself and figure out that you're this sort of person or that sort of person, you'll have problems. Now, on the idea of expectations will bring us to the next topic that I'm going to get into next time, which is on the principle of consent. Consent is not just saying yes. There's a lot more to it, and it's very important, especially if you're making a relationship you want to last. Thank you, and please feel free to make whatever comments you like or any questions. Thanks.